All right, so this is your Chapter 1 test review. We are reviewing the concepts that are specifically going to be on your quiz and your test over Chapter 1. So in the first slide, we're solving one-step equations. Go ahead and solve for x. Negative 3.4x equals 17. So because of the negative sometimes throws us off because we think, oh, it's negative, so I need to add. But remember, what operation is connected to your variable, okay? So 3.4x means multiplication. So that means I need to divide both sides by negative 3.4. Divide by negative 3.4. All right? And then x equals negative 5. Who got that right? Good. Good job, guys. Okay, next problem. Combining like terms and solve. Okay, 8x, well, you tell me. Okay, we have 8x minus 25 minus 6x. What can we combine?
8x and 6x.
Negative 6x. Okay, so make sure that you recognize the fact that 6x is negative because there's a subtraction sign in front of it. That means we have a positive 8x combining with a negative 6x. What is 8 minus 6? 2x minus 25 equals negative 35. All right, finish solving. So now what do we do first? Or next, or whatever you want to call it. Add 25. What is negative 35 plus 25?
Negative 10.
Very good. So I add 25, add 25. These are different signs. 2x equals negative 10. Divide both sides by 2. And x equals negative 5, again, ironically. Okay, all right, who got that right? X equals negative 5? Good, guys. Good. Distributive property. All right, a lot of distributive property on your quiz and test. I'm really encouraged by how well we did with it yesterday. We still have things to work out, though, okay? But we're definitely getting better, so that's encouraging. All right, go ahead and solve this equation. Okay, so on this one we do the distributive first. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Remember, we cannot combine x plus 2. This is so important, guys. If you do x plus 2 equals 2x, basically you're wrong before you ever even get started, okay? So please do not do that. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times 2. This is not addition. This is a negative 3 being multiplied by a positive 2. So that's negative 6 plus 5x equals negative 9. Oh, I did not mean to put all of it up there at once. Okay, so this is going to be a negative 9. And then I saw some people writing the plus 5x under the negative 3x. Basically, they just kind of brought it over so they could see what the signs were. I'm good with that, okay? Negative 3x plus 5x is 2x. So basically, they were combining these like terms right here and then bringing down the negative 6 equals negative 9. All right, now we have a simple two-step. Add 6 to both sides, divide by 2. You get negative 1.5 or negative 3 over 2. All right, so very good on that one, okay? If you missed part of it, do you see where you went wrong? If you like missed a sign or something here or there. All right, so that's distributive property. Let's look at equations with variables on both sides. Okay, so here we go. 1/3 times 9x plus 3 equals 3x plus 1. Let's start with distributive property and then evaluate our answer. What is 1/3 of 9x? What's 1/3 of 9x? 3x. And what's 1/3 of 3? 1. Equals 3x plus 1. So at this point, our radar is kind of alerting us on something. What is it? It's the same exact thing on both sides. So I know when I try to move my variable, which is typically my next step, my variables are going to cancel. I had someone last hour ask me, what if they don't write that part where they're subtracting 3x? What if they recognize here that it's infinite solution, would I take off for it on a test? My answer is no. I'm not going to take off for it as long as you have what I have highlighted right here, okay? Because here you've done distributive and you're recognizing that it's the exact same expression on both sides. That's fine. Now, I prefer for you to work it out the rest of the way just to kind of show, again, why. But on a test, if you recognize infinite solution with what's highlighted, that's fine too, okay? So yes, so that's that one. Now I want to work this one, solving equations with variables on both sides again. Remember, variables on both sides, it could mean infinite solution, could mean no solution, or it could mean that there is one solution. We have to evaluate it in order to be able to know, okay? So I saw people doing both ways, okay? I wanted to subtract 3K. Why do you think I subtracted 3K instead of subtracting 7K? Okay. Yeah, it's a smaller value, so it's not going to be negative. All right, so now I'm going to subtract 2 over to the left side because I'm trying to get K by itself. Negative 3 equals 4K. Divide by 4. K equals negative 3 over 4. I prefer you to leave it as a fraction. If you put it as a decimal, that's okay too. All right, either way is fine. Now, this is what we learned in section 1.4, so as recently as yesterday. So if you worked the homework last night, this should look very familiar to you, that you're solving the equation for y. 4x minus 4y equals 1. You're solving the equation for y. 4x minus 4y equals 1. You're trying to get y by itself on one side of the equation. All right, let's try it. So 4x minus 4y equals 1. If I need to solve for y, I have to move 4x to the other side. All right, let me explain to you why I cannot divide. I know that typically we're used to seeing, oh, well, this is multiplication, so I divide. But what happens if you divide? You completely cancel it out, and now you're going to have to divide every other term by 4x to keep it the same. You don't want to do that. That's not what we're trying to do. So that's why you don't divide, but you subtract 4x from both sides. Okay, now this next part is very important. You bring down the negative with the 4y. How did I know to do that? Because there's a negative sign in front of the 4y. I can't ignore that. Can you subtract 1 minus 4x? No, it's not like terms. So you just bring it down. 1 minus 4x. Now what do I do to solve for y? Divide everything by negative 4. Divide everything by negative 4. Make sure your phones are on silent. Okay? Now you go ahead and write the equation. Okay? Go ahead and simplify everything and write your equation with y by itself. All right? Y equals negative 1/4. And you're right, Sarah, that your 4's cancel, but your x did not cancel. Okay? So your negative 4's cancel out. What's negative 4 divided by negative 4? Positive 1x. Okay? So the 4's did reduce down, but I still had my x left. All right? So you guys did very well on that. You have one of those on your, one or two of those on your quiz and test. You also have the red variable one where you see a red variable and you need to, and actually what I just thought of, I think I print in black and white. So I need to check on that. Okay, solve for the red variable, p equals a plus b plus c. So if I'm solving for a, how can I get it by itself? P equals a plus b plus c. Elizabeth?
Subtract BC.
Subtract b and subtract c. If you subtract b minus b, it cancels. If you subtract c minus c, it cancels. And do it to the other side. And you get a equals capital P minus b minus c. All we're doing is those inverse operations to get one targeted variable by itself. Now we're going to find each angle measure in the triangle. Notice it says each. I did not say solve for x, however, you have to solve for x before you can find the angle measures. Remember doing this in class? All right, so let's go ahead and work this out. You're going to need an equation. I'm not a fan of mental math on this problem. There's way too much math to do. Okay, so I need to see work here. Okay, so find each angle measure in the triangle. We are going to do x plus 2x plus 3x equals 180. And then we have 6x equals 180. Divide both sides by 6, and x equals 30. Anybody get that far, that x equals 30? Raise your hand if you got x equals 30. But that's not my answer. How do I now find my angle measures? Sarah? Yes. Very good. And what did you find for your angle measures?
For the top one, I got 90 degrees.
Yep.
For the bottom left, I got 30 degrees. And for the bottom right, I got 60.
All right, that's perfect. 30, 60, 90. You can put your degree symbols. That would be even better. And that is the correct answer. All right, so we have one more. Actually, let's do this one. This one's a little different. It's going to be a challenge question for you. Challenge oftentimes equals bonus. All right. Can you think of an equation that would have a solution of 5? I don't care if it's addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division, but once you solve it, it would have a solution of 5. Just think about that for a minute and try to write one down. Here's an example. X minus 10 equals negative 5. All right, so what would I do to both sides to solve for x? Add 10, right? And x equals 5. So I had a solution of 5. I could do 25, no, I'm sorry. I could do 5x equals 25. How do I solve for both sides? Divide by 5, and x equals 5. So again, I have a solution of 5. So on your test, I'll ask you as a challenge question. Hint. Okay. So it's not really going to, be that big of a deal if you don't know how to do this, but that is just kind of a hint as to what your bonus might be. All right, modeling real life. We only have about a minute left, so I just want to kind of go over a sample question of a type of question you might see. All right, and here is my advice to you on the word problems. The word problems are going to be familiar to you from the notes and from the homework. It's impossible for me to go over every scenario with you, and it also gives you an unfair advantage on a quiz or a test if you know exactly the type of problem that you're going to see, okay? So, but it's not going to be completely like foreign to you. You will be familiar with the concepts. So if it's 75 degrees at 4 p.m. and it drops 5 degrees every hour, okay, so it drops 5 degrees every hour, at what time will the temperature be 55 degrees Fahrenheit? So it drops 5 degrees per hour. At what time will it be 55 degrees Fahrenheit? Well, you need to figure out how much is it going to drop between 75 and 55? It drops how much? 20 degrees, right? So it's going to drop a total of 20 degrees. You divide, and I guess technically my answer is still negative, so ignore the signs. All right, how many hours is it going to take? How many hours is it going to take, guys? It's going to take 4 hours, but that's not the answer to my question. If it's 4 p.m. when it's 75, what time will it be when it's 55? What time will it be? If 4 hours pass, if it takes 4 hours to drop that much, it's going to be 8 p.m. So 8 p.m. is the answer, all right? They're all about those questions where you have to answer it so that you can actually answer the problem, okay? If you understand these concepts, you should be very prepared for your quiz and your test, and that's pretty much everything.